Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Albert Veksler. I'm the director of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and we are here with answers for allies from our office in Jerusalem. Together with me is a great friend, Frank Pesce.
Yes, sir.
From originally New York.
New York City, born and raised.
And you just arrived to Israel. Actually, you flew in. What brings you to Israel in this time of war?
Albert, you brought me to Israel, and I don't say that disingenuously. When I first attended the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast in St. Louis, it was the greatest moment of spiritual clarity and direction that I have ever received in my life. At that very moment, I knew exactly where I needed to be and what I needed to be doing. From that very moment, I realized that I have an inheritance here in the land, and whether it's peace or it's war, whether it's calamity, whatever is going on, we have to set our foot in the land because this is a very, very special place.
It definitely is, and of course, I'm very encouraged that you have come because it's much more than just a solidarity visit, and I'm very encouraged that you're here. And you know, we are going through a very difficult time. It's of course Hanukkah. We are expecting our Hanukkah miracles. We want to see the end of this horrible desecration that Hamas has brought upon us.
Sure.
But there's so much more that is going on. And of course, one thing is the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast in New York.
That's right, that's right. Can I just say, the very fact that Israel exists as a state and is surrounded by so many enemies isn't a miracle in and of itself.
It is.
It's demonstrated every single day. This is a standing miracle that we're witnessing.
It's very true.
It's testimony to a covenant.
It's a testimony for God's faithfulness, and He has said it. He will not slumber nor sleep.
Albert, I grew up in New York City, and I was quintessential New York. I worked on Wall Street. I worked in the trade unions. I worked at the World Trade Center. I was in the military at one time, worked in the anti-terror division, at the New York City infrastructure. I lived and breathed New York. I spent my lifetime building connections, making friends, going out to the restaurants and the venues, and just bringing New York into who I am, and then communicating that forward to other people and sharing the beauty of what New York is. When I went to St. Louis and I saw what was happening, I saw what the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast has done. First of all, bringing people into the knowledge of what this covenant is that God has with the state of Israel, and how anybody who would join themselves to the appreciation of that covenant would also be blessed. Just as we know, Abraham, right? Not trying to be an evangelist about the matter, but we know the promises are ancient, right? God tells Abraham, he says, I will make your descendants more numerous than the stars of the sky. And then furthermore, I will bless anybody who blesses them and blesses you.
Well, it is true. But again, coming back to New York, we have been, thinking of this possibility.
Sure.
Of having a Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast in New York during the UN week.
Very important time.
And goodness, I mean, what an organization, United Nations. Yes, in 1948, 1947 actually, they voted for the partition of the British Mandate. Actually, it was a British initiative. They brought it up. That resulted in,
Balfour Agreement.
Well, the process of the birth of the new modern state of Israel. But if you look at UN now, I remember the words of Abba Evan, the legendary foreign minister of Israel, who said that if Algeria would come up with a resolution that the earth is flat and Israel flattened it, the UN would vote for it and it will pass. The resolution would pass because you have a majority, an automatic majority of dictatorships, of Islamic regimes, and their sympathizers that will just pass any resolution they want because it's political. So coming to New York, it's so important. Next year, I can just imagine what will happen next year during the UN week. And
right.
You came up actually with this idea, didn't you?
I did. And I came up with the idea to do it during the UN General Assembly. It's a very important time. I worked at the UN for 2 years. I was in that building every single day, and I saw the happenings. I saw what was going on there. I saw the different diplomats and people that were coming in, and I saw the power that that organization has. And when they call that General Assembly every year in September, it obviously brings in world leaders and it changes the character and the face of the city. All the traffic patterns change. You can't get a hotel for less than $1,000 a night. The restaurants are full. I mean, it's madness. It really is the busiest and most important week that New York City has. Which is why, to me, it's very important that the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast will hold a parallel event during the UN General Assembly, because you'll have access to those world leaders, you'll have access to those diplomats, you'll be able to have a platform where you can speak of everlasting peace, an enduring peace, a platform for peace that you can invite nations to come into and hear real practical solutions that are not tainted by the biases that now exist in the UN, which I think you alluded to just a minute ago.
Well, you can think of this, that the nations are sending their top diplomats, to United Nations, and they are voting there. And maybe people don't make that connection every time they vote. But for example, if they have a resolution saying that the Jewish people have no connection to the Temple Mount, right, and they raise their hand or push their button, whatever they do, and say, well, my country votes yes, Jewish people have no connection to Jerusalem, to Temple Mount. I mean, think of how God feels. Think of how he looks at this in the light of what is written in the Bible, and think of the consequences these people bring to their own nations. You're just reminded of the covenant with Abraham. He who blesses you will be blessed. I mean, think of all of these nations that voted against the partition plan in 1947. Not one of them is democracy or prospering or seeing, stability or anything beautiful in their societies. I mean, all 13 that voted against are suffering horribly.
Of course. New York has a very rich history. New York was the economic center of the world for a long time. And it still obviously holds great weight. And as you can see, it's a very important city for diplomatic agendas. The Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, to me, it embodies light. And here's the thing about light. You don't stare at the light. You look at the thing that the light is illuminating. You look at the thing that the light is shining on. And I think the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast will bring in some ways a revival, a renaissance to the city of New York that so desperately needs it.
I think it also helps to mobilize the church to pray for Israel. I mean, we have seen now several amazing initiatives. Like we had one in the Knesset, in Israeli parliament, on the 29th
Beautiful.
of November,
Yes.
which was the date of the UN partition vote. And
you can't make that up, by the way.
no, I know. I mean, and we couldn't even have it because the Knesset doesn't have any events during the war.
Right.
So the Speaker of the House made an exemption, and he came to open the day, and that was quite unique. But I'm thinking of this, that this will give nations first opportunity to pray for Israel, but second, I have seen it all over the world. Wherever we go, it's as if God is giving a choice between the nations on a silver platter. Will you choose my word? Will you choose my ways? Will you choose the way of blessing my people and bringing a blessing upon yourself? Will you choose life? And this is something that is happening all over, time after time after time. We've seen so many miracles in Italy. You are related, of course, to Italy. We've been in touch with former Senator Simone Pillon, who just said that as an inspiration from the meeting we had in the Knesset, they had a meeting of prayer and support in the Italian Senate.
Let's put this in perspective for just a second for the viewer, because when you hosted the Day of Prayer at the Knesset on the 29th, I was watching it from the United States, and I texted you. I said, Albert, is this a common occurrence in the Knesset? And you said, no, this is the first ever. We have done it. And not only is it the first ever day of prayer in the modern state of Israel inside the House of Parliament at the Knesset, but you managed to bring in the Speaker of the U.S. House to bring a very personalized message from Capitol Hill in the United States. You managed to bring in senators and other political people, ministerial people, diplomatic people, who all sewed into and shared and spoke in the venue that you held here at the Knesset. This is a first of many. And as you know, and we just spoke, that day of prayer inspired Italy to want to do a similar day of prayer in their legislature.
Yeah.
And I know that more than likely you're in talks with having a day of prayer in the U.S. House or the U.S. Senate. But, you know.
Well, let's believe for it, because this is something very, very big, and we of course want to see it happen. And it is, as you said, really unique that we were able to have the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, not just send his message, but he prayed, as did Senator Ted Cruz and several congressmen, Michael Cloud, and there were several others, but also from all over the world. New Zealand and Norway and Sweden and Finland and Estonia and Latvia, and all of these nations, they had their elected representatives in the parliaments. They sent their prayers, and it was something that absolutely changed the atmosphere. And we need to continue with this, because Israel is at war and it's not going to end. Actually, I had a strangest sensation, I shared it earlier, that we have entered into a perpetual war. It's horrible even to think of this, but it's going to be a long run, and it's going to be something that will necessitate nations and churches in those respective nations to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Yeah, you're dealing with an ideology, so it's multi-generational. When the war on terror started in the United States, I joined the Army during that time because I heard the messaging, I heard the call to my nation to want to serve, and what President Bush was saying at the time is, this is going to be a 100-year war. This is a multi-generational war. This is not going to end with one war here, one war there. We all have hindsight, and hindsight's 20/20. It is what it is. We're not revisiting that. But that statement, that this will be multi-generational, that's true. This is not something that ends with a handshake and it's all over. This is an ideology that has to be defeated, has to be put to an end.
And so, coming back to the event in September next year in New York, I mean, it's not an easy thing to put together a Jerusalem prayer breakfast. You've seen several ones, and it takes months of preparation, and most of all, it takes months and months of intercession and prayer, and
That's right.
and but it also takes money. It takes a lot of money. I mean, I've signed the contracts, with Waldorf Astoria and Orient Hotel here for years to make sure that the events will take place, and it's not a little thing.
You're right.
It's a risk to do that.
It is. But let me say this: I have had people now. Thank goodness, because it's actually because of your team. People are now banging down my door saying, we want to sponsor. We want to be part of what's happening there. We want to buy tables. We want our nation represented there. We want our business represented there. We want to sew in. We want to be considered to be a co-chair for this event. People see what's happening. People see that they have an opportunity to be part of a good work, and not only be part of a good work, but part of an enduring work and part of a process towards enduring peace. So,
are you telling me we are on in New York?
I'm telling you that we are very close to having it finalized. The only challenge, and I'll be candid with you, only challenge I'm having is getting the exact right dates, because New York is in such high demand for, all those venues to be booked up by, whatever, heads of state in different nations. But I do believe that there's a miracle in the waiting, and there is somebody who you are very close with that is on your team that she seems like she may hold the key to the dates that we actually need.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So
that's wonderful.
I'll be sharing hopefully some further updates with you. I'll be here for 5 days. So in this visit, I expect that we'll have some answers.
Well, I'm really excited about this, because I, of course, have been very much involved with what has been happening in Israel, and my heart is very much with our troops in Gaza Strip. My own son is there, and so you cannot, ignore it. It's just there.
Of course.
It's not It's not like you see a bad dream and then you wake up for a great reality.
Exactly.
It's the other way around. I mean, you can have a nice dream and then you wake up to a horrible reality that we are facing. And of course, if you think of our hostages, I mean, for more than 2 months, I mean, we have no clue what conditions they're in. I mean, these
It's long-term imprisonment at this point.
I mean, and this is not even imprisonment. They have no rights. You don't know whether they will live or die.
Right. Right.
Whatever comes to somebody's mind, you don't know. I mean, Israel just rescued 2 dead bodies at the price of very, very high price of our soldiers' lives. And
I know a lot of people are like not happy with the Red Cross because the Red Cross is supposed to be making visits and checking on the well-being of people in the situation. But you know what? I have to say, they're probably scared. The Red Cross probably does not want to go into this situation because of how unpredictable this ideology can be, and that they'd be putting their own life at risk.
let me put it like this: Red Cross has been offering the Uber services lately. I mean, this is what they're doing. They're just taking their hostages from Hamas terrorists and taking them to Israeli borders. Red Cross in 1944, this is official report. They said they went to see Auschwitz camp. Red Cross.
Right.
They say,
Well known.
we found no trace of installations for exterminating civilian prisoners in Auschwitz. 1944.
Right.
They are
I've
the
heard
same-
that data before.
Well, they are the same today. Red Cross in 2023. We found no evidence of weapons or hostages being kept in hospitals in Gaza.
Ooh. See, that's news to me. I had not heard that, and that's ridiculous because all the intelligence, all the reports that we have indicate the exact opposite.
I mean, we have the security cameras, records, video. I
See-
mean, how they were brought in on the 7th of October to the hospitals. We have now all the pictures. We have all the evidence of weapons being stored under the hospitals, tunnels under the hospitals. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's like we don't want to see the truth. And the UN is exactly the same. They don't want to see the truth. I mean, we had a picture yesterday from our UN Israeli ambassador to UN, Gilad Erdan, showing the number of Sinwar, his phone number, saying, if you want ceasefire, they actually voted
Wow.
demanding the ceasefire. He had his phone number up saying, if you want ceasefire, call Sinwar. I mean, that's UN. They voted for ceasefire. I mean,
Saw that yesterday, yeah.
what in the world do they think? I mean, people say war is not an answer. During the Second World War, when Nazis were trying to take over the whole world, trying to destroy Europe, killed 6 million Jews, the war was the only answer the Allies could have given them. There was no other answer.
Right, right.
You had to make an end to the Nazism. So it's the same now. So it's a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, and you're here on the ground. So what I find interesting is, I shared a perspective, perhaps, I'm a bit naive in the perspective that I shared because I put myself in the shoes of, somebody who maybe is at the Red Cross to say, I don't know, man, that's a rough situation. I don't know if I want to go up in there, with the uncertainty that as it exists. But here you are presenting data that's definitive, on the ground, up-to-date data, and this is the same data that's available to all the world, and yet what you see with these Free Palestine movements and these anti-Israel movements is exactly what I, unfortunately and regretfully, just exhibited here, not having all the information.
So with all this unwillingness to face the truth, I think it is even more than important that we go with Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast to New York
Big time.
during the UN week. It is so important, and I'm very, very thankful to God for you for actually picking it up. And I mean, I know we had some rough moments in between in the process, but you never gave up, and I'm thankful for that.
It's an honor and a pleasure, and it's a mandate,
Well,
as far as I'm concerned.
it's something that can change the destiny of many peoples, of many I would even say millions of peoples, because the Bible
Absolutely.
has given a very simple, very, very, very simple idea. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Something that unites the Jews and Christians.
And we can all agree on that.
And you can see the results. We've seen situations turned around, Holland, Italy, in so many places. I mean, we have a opportunity before us. So let's plan.
Yes.
You have any closer idea which dates we would have in New York?
So the UN General Assembly for 2024 operates between 9/11 and 9/22, 2024.
Okay.
What I think is the best date range would be, let's say, a Thursday, Friday, something like that. The problem I'm having is I'm only able to get like a Sunday, Monday at this point, or like a Monday, Tuesday.
Sunday, Monday is good.
Maybe, but I grew up in New York.
So?
When people are in the city, they while they're there, they want to do their business, and then they want to get out and go home.
What about Sunday?
So Sunday's hard because people are now, people are home on Sunday. I would like to see Thursday, Friday, but of course, it's whatever you say it needs to be. It will be. I'm happy to go with your direction on this. I'm not trying to drive it. I'm just trying to be a facilitator.
In a way, though, Sunday would be a day, in my opinion, that people would be free, so they could join. We could start Sunday night. They've been at churches, on Sunday morning. They could come Sunday night for the Celebrate Jerusalem concert, and then we'll, have the Jerusalem prayer breakfast on Monday morning, Monday evening, the founders' dinner, and it could be huge.
Well, after we're done here today, I'm here for a few days. I know we're going to have other meetings to meet about New York. I'll show you everything I got so far and show you how close we are to being able to sign and guarantee the dates. Just want to make sure that it's exactly what God wants, it's exactly what JPB wants, and it's exactly what we're able to deliver for the people that need to be there.
Well, it sounds like a Hanukkah miracle to me. This
Amen.
is just amazing, and I'm thankful that you came, and I'm thankful that you are here in Jerusalem, and we are so happy that you all have tuned in today, and so thankful that you are praying for Jerusalem, you are praying for our army, you are praying for our boys in Gaza, in the northern front, in Judea, Samaria. I mean, we need your prayers. We need you to stand with us. And remember, those who pray for the peace of Jerusalem will prosper. Those who bless the seed of Abraham, they will be blessed. So a blessing from us to you at your home from Jerusalem. Shalom.
Shalom.